It is 6 o'clock. We will start the meeting. We have 3 members of the building committee here, and we have 2 alternates representing the school and the senior center. So we do have enough for a quorum. So let us begin. Bob, was there any correspondence? You're on mute.
Yeah.
I believe you're muted. Okay, we'll go to Mark just while Bob tweaks with that. Mark, anything?
No.
Oh, you have company.
Yeah, he
Yay.
went to bed. He's exhausted, so he's sleeping on me.
Oh.
No, these weekly meetings don't give me a chance to actually do the minutes here.
Okay.
There's a
Bob?
dog in my lap.
Well, there's something about a dog in your lap that, just makes you feel comfy. So the first item on the agenda, Dr. Bayetta, you were going to bring us up to date with what the school is doing with the fields?
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien. Good evening to all, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas. So Stein, I don't know if you had the opportunity to send it to the rest of the membership.
I did.
And provided another update today based on some changes. So as you all know, we had options A, B, C, D, E, F1, F2, and G, and we ended up moving forward with the original option G within the recommendation from the committee about now going a good 4 or 5 months anyways. We've decided to go back and retake a look at this project, trying to continue to make it as, if you will, fiscally prudent as possible. And so what we did is we met with Gale Associates, which is the original, if you will, architect that was part of the capital improvement funds that was provided 2.5 years ago. And we came back with option H, which basically makes some significant changes and brings down the cost to just over $6.3 million. So if you remember, we were as high as $10.2 million. And we've continued to try to bring that. And to be quite honest, the $6.3 million, so that I'm clear, has a contingency fund for an interesting surprise as part of this project. So the high school, we continue to be in the pumping and sanitation business, which I think is not a good place to be. We now have a connection on 123, which we did not have when we did the building project. That connection allows for us to go directly from the high school to 123, and then the same thing from the Yale School to the 123. So that would be all solids, everything. The issue is, believe it or not, currently, the way that the system works is it comes from the high school, behind the Yale School, to the Yale School, back towards the high school, and then we have the pumping that takes place or for the solids, or it goes out onto the 123 connection. So the two parts here are A, being able to connect solids, which to me is the way we should be going and getting out of the pumping business, the septic business, if you will. And again, this was not available to the school department, which would have been part of the original high school project because there was no sewage or 123 to connect to. That would include the solids. So we've put the sewage connection project in 2 places. In this project and in our individual capital improvement plan to the town. So it's in 2 different locations. So the potential for this project within the permanent building committee, the school committee, and so on and so forth, is that it would be about $576,000 less without the sewage being part of the complex and having it done independently. We actually think that doing it independently would be more cost effective than doing it within the project for 2 reasons. Number one, it's probably not as expensive as the $576 that's noted within the Gale Associates, because they're probably going to have to utilize third parties in order to get something like sewage reconnected. Number two, we need to get into the sewage bin as soon as possible. because that's going to help with everything to do with flow on the new Route 123 sewer line, which you probably know we hope to connect to currently the middle school does not take the solids. And so we need to connect that. And then we also, as you know, because we're in a wastewater treatment plant at the middle school, another business we want to get out of. And because long-term, it's cost effective to get out of it. That's costing me almost $75,000 a year in on my operational budget for a wastewater treatment plant that is too big from the day it was put together. We've been running all kinds of nitrate problems since the building opened because of just not enough flow, even when that building had 800 students and 100 staff. We've been under DEP regulations, as some of you may recall, since almost 17 years now. And our last DEP involvement was to provide them with the nitrate counts from September to September, which we did last year. So it's an issue that we're going to have to address. All of this helps with everything to do with sewerage in terms of flow, how much, cost effectiveness. We're able to connect to the lines as a property owner, if you will, and it gets both the Yale School and the high school out of the sewer business or out of the septic system business and pumping, which is something that we did at the LG when we connected to the sewer system when the Plain Street sewer line went down there about 3 years ago. Just a whole difference down there where we actually now have a playground for kids in the back. My first year here, almost 8 years ago, I literally in the fall, with the weather change, you see the muck in the back of the building at the LG. And I said, what the heck is that? And they said, well, that's all the water from the sewer line. We had to pump it by hitting a button every morning. It was pretty old. So that's definitely worked to our benefit, both as a school department and I think as a town, because we're users of that system. So we're thinking of going in both directions and then seeing fiscally what's the most responsible way to take care of it via capital, which is a separate process, and borrowing, or via and or borrowing. There's been some discussions about borrowing because the rates right now are so low. Those of you working on this permanent building committee already probably know that the rates are exceptionally low right now. So as we move forward with this project is actually potentially projected as a project to be less because of the sewer system connection being a separate process, if you will. The other part of it is that we kept the tennis courts in the high school complex project solely because of how bad the middle school tennis courts are. The middle school tennis courts are all right now heaving up like a frost heave, if you will, and gapping as much as 3-4 inches. Please take a look at it if you get a chance. We're going to try to do some pictures for the springtime so people have more information. But that is also underneath, or that's on top of a leaching field. So my recommendation is not to try to build anything on top of a leaching field. I just don't think that that's a good idea to try to do that, because that's part of the reason why that's got the frost heaves taking place. It's just constantly shifting because of hot and cold and so on and so forth. Some of you on the meeting are much more aware of this stuff than I am. So we're recommending kind of like patch and fix type of thing versus and creating the new. There's no need to get rid of them, although they could become things like parking that we've talked about in the future. But right now it would just be a stand and stay situation, and everything at the high school focuses on the high school football field and track with full lighting, moving to a new complex behind the Yale School that is a multi-purpose field with a softball field. It keeps the JV field where it is, and it keeps the tennis courts. We don't touch the pit field at all, which is about $1,038,000 to turn that into turf, and it's about $700,000 to turn that into just a grass field because it's so wet, as some of you know from our discussions early on about maybe a senior center going down there, that one of the concerns was that it's entrance and it's so wet. So that's where we kind of stand today. We're playing this 2 roads with the sewer system because, again, this power is above me that makes some of these decisions, the school committee, town manager, and the board of selectmen, finance committee, and then eventually town hall. It's very interesting that as we connect, we see these sewer project connections. it's a goal of mine to get all of the schools off of septic systems. Our next biggest concern that we have is the JCS. Potentially, we're able to connect with the JCS for non-solids at some point because of the old 4-inch pipeline that was put down that way. But again, I'll give it up to the Sewer Commission to discuss that with you because I'm not an expert in that field at all. And again, that was the way it was done. When these schools were all built, there was no sewer line to connect to. So therefore, we went with septic systems that are now becoming problematic every year, starting with the LG, fixing, really putting an end to the high school situation and connecting that both with solids and liquids, and then doing the same thing at the Yale. The Yale connection is actually easier potentially than the high school connection because of the grading of the area there in terms of will it need any type of further pumps or not, versus the Yale's already got a pump. So we're working to get that information as part of our proposal going forward as well. That's kind of the compelling story, if you will. The project right now runs at just over 5.7 to just over 6.3, with the difference being the contingencies put in for the sewer connection. That could be part of a different capital item, not associated with this project at all. Basically, what would happen is you got to cut the line on both sides, and then when the project comes through, we just dig it out as part of the redigging and resoiling of the entire area as part of the turf field. That's already built into the project itself.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Bayetta? I think it's a good thing that you've gone from 10 million down to 6. That's very
Yep.
different in a municipal project, so that's good work.
Yeah, one of the things that we still think that this project will come in under that. We're working with a very well-established architectural firm that's very well established in this area. The last 2 big projects that they did, and again, everything changes because of the economy and all of that stuff, but both of those projects came in $1.2 to $1.5 million under the original proposal. So that's pretty significant money. Even if we could save another $500,000 on this project, that would be yet another win-win, if you will.
And these changes are still projected to bring you out, excuse me, refresh my memory, how many years?
In terms of
future? For usage?
Yeah, so right now, these projects are all going, in general, they say 10 to 12 years, but there are turf fields going out 15, 18 years. It's all about taking care of them, right? Having the right equipment to be able to brush them on a regular basis, making sure that you're not doing stupid things like plowing them in the wintertime, which early on was something that people were doing in New England, staying away from that because it's probably too cold to play outside, except for things like football games, that once in a lifetime situation where it snows a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And staying away from that. The second part is making those final decisions on what end product. Right now, we're going with a medium high grade. Think about it in the same way as, do you buy a 10-year roof or do you buy a 20 or 30-year roof? Those are the discussions that we put into our plans, that we just don't want to be going out 10 years from now. We want to go with the, if you will, medium to high grade material that will give us more time, especially if we take good care of it.
Okay, so in the long run, it's a lot more cost effective than.
Yeah, so usually what happens in turf field situations is X number of years that you go out, if the grading is done correctly and there isn't a ton of shifting, the only thing that's usually done is the actual turf field itself. You're pulling the turf, think about a carpet in your home. You're taking the old carpet out and you're putting the new carpet in. Those are usually the exchanges that take place in these types of fields. If you look at the NFL, for example, any of us that watch football or even some of the soccer and all of that, those fields are changed out every 2-3 years and sometimes multiple times a year because of the banging that takes place on them and their utilization. We wouldn't be utilizing them at that level.
Okay. Any comments? I'm looking at everybody on the screen. Okay.
And thank you for taking me early.
Thank you very much.
I have a 6:30 with parents, which, I thought this was going to be the tough meeting. I guess I'm going to be going into a tougher meeting.
Good job.
I appreciate it very much, and happy holidays and Merry
Happy Christmas.
May all of you and yours stay safe.
Okay, you too. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Bayetta.
Appreciate
Happy
it.
holidays.
Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on to the town hall project. Mr. Viveras, you're on. Mike,
He's on mute.
you're on mute.
Not any longer.
Okay,
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Got to click through a few slides here. If I could share screen, here we go. There we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
yeah, we can. Thank you.
And I think you're all seeing a building you're very familiar with, or two buildings you're quite familiar with. As part of making space for a potential new town hall, it requires the demolition of the old town hall, which my understanding is once upon a time it was a gymnasium that was of course converted to a town hall. When we tear down town hall, what's going to happen is that the fire station was built after town hall, and when we take down town hall, we're going to need to figure out what to do with the outside wall that if you go into town hall now, when you're in town hall, you notice that there's a very funny wall. If you look at the pictures to the left, the windows don't seem to align with anything. They connect up through the second floor. And of course, that's because this was once upon a time, this was the outside wall of the gymnasium. So this is the present situation with town hall and the fire station. We're proposing to demolish all that you see here in white. And then we're going to need to figure out what to do with the wall. We're going to need to figure out what to do with the wall at the joint. This is what it's going to look like after town hall is demolished. And this is, I'm just going to a plan here. This is the base. There are 3 floor plans. There's a basement, first and second floor. You can see here dashed the area that would be demolished. And then you can see, of course, there's a wall that's here presently that we've looked at, and frankly, we think we're going to be too difficult to work around it. You know, if you think about the window openings that already don't work on the inside, we have to figure out, it's a masonry wall that is tied to the gymnasium. It's not really tied to the, structurally tied to the fire department. So if we tried to keep the wall, we'd have to, tie those two things together. The wall can't just stand there on its own. After some thought, and this is an elevation of the wall that would remain after town hall is demolished, if we decided to keep this wall. In our view, it's going to be best to take this wall down and build a new wall on the foundations for this wall. This is going to have to be done I think it's most likely it'll need to be done in pieces. Imagine if we take this wall down, you're going to have the inside of the fire department exposed. So it's a matter of either shoring up some components of the fire department, and this gets a little complicated, but we're either going to need to shore. The fire department was framed in such a way that it has very little bearing points on the wall that's there. So removing the wall is not going to be particularly difficult as it relates to the structure of the fire department. We're proposing that we would build a new wall that looks something like this, a brick wall with new openings that are largely in the corridor, and would be built on the existing foundations. I have plans here. I don't think it should be necessary to go through all the plans and all the little implications, but I'm just going to go here. We do have building sections, and if I zoom up here, for those structural engineers in the audience. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So you can see the gymnasium here. Can everyone see this?
Mhm.
A little bit more. Oops, sorry. A little tricky here. Bear with me. Here we go. Ah, come on. Nope. Here we go. So you can see the gymnasium with the bar joist roofs. The wall is this is the wall that we're referring to, that we'd be at some point cutting the wall off and working on top of the existing foundation and building a new brick wall up with the new windows. Again, it's either going to have to be done. They're either going to go ahead and shore up all the structural components of the fire station and then take this wall down in pieces, or they might of course shore it up and then take the wall down. You know, my gut is it'll be taken down in pieces and perhaps put up new sections of wall as you go along.
With the component with the trusses,
Yep.
that's coming down. That's the section of the existing town hall that's going to be removed.
That's correct. Yeah, and even that is going to have to be taken down. It's somewhat delicately. They can't just go in and take it down wholesale. They're going to have to pick it apart, basically, get back to the wall, and then shore the wall, and then take the wall down in pieces.
Okay.
Madam Chairperson, can I ask a question?
Yes, Jim.
Mike, what's your estimated time for this whole process to take place? I'm thinking that it's something that doesn't have to be done right away. And if we could put it off to start in April and end in September, we're not worrying about the environment in the fire station so much as if we started in September and worked through the winter.
Well, I think this is something that's going to get phased in. You're going to build a new town hall. You're going to do most of the site work for the new town hall. And then this will come down, as one of the later things that's done, so that you could remain in operation in town hall and, avoid.
Oh, you're right. I had forgotten completely about moving from one building to another. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's an interesting building to have to remove.
Diana, can I ask a question, please? It's Gloria.
Yes, Gloria.
My question is, it sounds as if the new town hall would be constructed, and then the demolition would start on the older building, so that the staff from the town hall offices would just easily transfer to the new building. My question is, obviously the food pantry's there, and the timing of how a new community center where the pantry would be located, how that would play into all of this. I guess obviously the timing is key here, and whether the two projects, there's so many unknowns, two projects that would be done at the same time or one before the other. What are your thoughts on that? Because obviously once the food pantry is demolished along with the old town hall, we would need a space to go to. But if the community center hasn't been built yet, we may have to look elsewhere for a temporary location.
I assume we're talking about simultaneous construction, are we not?
Or you could build the COA first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it would be necessary to do that. I think what this plan provides, if you can all see my screen, is that the existing town hall and the pantry are in this area here, which is going to be parking. So that could be one of the last things done. The town hall can all remain. The new town hall can be built. lion's share of the infrastructure for this renovated site can all be done. And the last thing they would do is come over and, you know, demolish Old Town Hall, demolish the food pantry, and, you know, and then finish the parking lot. And in that, you know, before all that, the town hall can be built, the COA can be built, and there should be limited disruption. I think what we have to do is think about the staging of the construction area, creating a safe zone so that people can, you know, obviously get to the food pantry. We need to make sure that, you know, that during construction operations that there's safe exits from the fire department and from the police station. But all that should be workable. It's a, you know, I mean, it's a big construction project, but those are not insurmountable, you know, issues. You know, parking will be a factor, providing temporary parking for people. All that has to get worked out, you know, and piece together.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Dinah, the question is the community center and the town hall would be working, the two projects would be done at the same time.
that I think should be the goal if we're going to do especially when we're bidding out the project for a general and a sub, having them do both projects, Mike?
That would be the most economical thing to do, I think, is to, you know, I mean, it's a little odd in the sense that they're two quite distinct projects, so it could be two different bids, or they could be packaged into one bid package. You know, I think that's a discussion to be had. You know, but I would think both are possible, it would seem to me. There could be savings in making it one larger project, but I think there are benefits as well to splitting it apart. So I mean, they are very distinct. So even if you had one constructor, one contractor, I mean, he's going to be running two different teams. They're going to run pretty independently.
Independently, yeah. But they are two projects that can proceed at the same time, the same kickoff. One might be finished earlier.
Yeah, the COA would take, obviously, it should take a lot less time about the site issues here, you know. You know, you've got to kind of piece this site together and, you know, do a bit at a time. Again, maintain a safe site, maintain parking, and kind of pick away at it.
Okay.
I mean, this will be disruptive, as you can imagine, right? We're touching like everything, right?
Oh yeah, no, a project this size, especially in a location where people are still trying to conduct business, is always a little pushy, but it's manageable and it's only for a short duration.
Yeah, it's very doable. I mean, I think there's plenty of room here to work everything out. There's plenty of room here.
Okay. All right.
And I think that was the goal of tonight's presentation, just to show you what's happening with this. If that's, you know, Ann and I continue to work on the other components. We actually have the first couple of renderings that we've prepared, which I'll be sending out before too long, where we continue to make tweaks to the floor plans, and VHB is now working on the site, just to give you an update. And we'll have a lot to show on the Tuesday. Is it the 4th, I recall?
January 4th, yes.
We've reached out to the director of the public library, the director of the library. I don't remember his specific position.
Director,
to ask him about parking. So we're going to be looking at trying to make improvements for the library parking as well as part of this.
yes, she seemed very receptive to that, especially for entrance and exits. Jim?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the committee's indulgence and Mike's that a few things that I asked that Dinah had asked, but there's a couple that weren't touched on, and then reading the new presentation you gave everybody yesterday. My biggest thing with the town hall is you have a plaza in the front. My suggestion was to make that handicap parking, because on the original plan, there is no handicap parking anywhere. and you want handicap parking near closest to the front door as you can. And I don't really see, I know aesthetically a plaza is nice looking, but the tree that was in the middle of the fire department was also aesthetically nice,
Yeah.
impractical. The other, that's a nice big plaza, but I didn't see any handicap. And there's parking across the street from the plaza, but they have to go across the thoroughfare, whatever you want to call it, the driveway, go across the plaza into the building. It's just a touchy little point with me. The other thing is, I saw like 5 copy rooms for copiers. I don't think the town owns 5 copiers, but that could be. But the funniest thing was there wasn't one in the town manager's office, and I think he makes the most copies of anybody. These are just notes for what you're doing. The other thing, I questioned how big the nurse's office was. I understand that she's gonna, and I understand this is Bob's expertise, but I understand she'll be seeing people and having to give shots and everything else. But it seemed like she almost has more square footage than the town manager has. And there could be some and I know we're not supposed to be redrawing up the diagrams, but the other thing is there was a family and a mother's bathroom side by side. I don't understand what the difference between a family bathroom is and a mother's bathroom, and I would think they would be one and the same.
The family bathrooms are used for companions to be able to enter with someone who needs assistance or somebody bringing a small child. A mother's bathroom is designed for specifically for women and nursing mothers who may or may not be working at the town hall. They can be used by anybody who needs them, but that is the difference.
Okay, I did not have that definition as you seem to have in front of you. Thank you. And I will get to the senior center when we get to that topic. Thank you for your indulgence.
Yeah, I wasn't anticipating presenting, the plans tonight.
Okay, fine. You said you're still in the.
If you have comments, it's great to hear them because we'll do our best to respond to them. I mean, we've already added, we have made changes to the plans. I was going to present them on the 4th.
On the 4th.
Fine, and I just thought that Anne would add them to her punch list of things, and if you get to them, you get to them. If you don't, you don't, and I'll grow next time.
The other thing that I would just like to say, when you're looking at buildings and this is my personal opinion, and you're seeing extra copy machine rooms and things, think storage. They don't necessarily need to hold a copy room, but I've worked on several municipal projects, and the one thing that I've always heard at the end of them is, I wish we had more storage. So don't discount these, because I did the same thing, Jim. I looked and said, how many copy machines did we need? And then I thought, oh no, that's storage. Don't get rid of storage, because then you're up against the creek.
That's like my question about the vaults. I mean, there is a huge vault that the town, and I understand the town clerk, because of election stuff, needs a separate vault. But then there's a vault. I don't understand. I think it was the building commissioners or somebody had a vault, and I don't understand that their records have to be locked up. But then again, they may have, during the initial process where you went through and interviewed each department, they may have said, well, we would like to have a vault. So
I think a lot of that
Maybe need them for plans.
And
I don't think the plans aren't that valuable that they have to be locked in a secure vault. They're put in a file cabinet and locked there, where they're made specifically for planning and everything else. But that's not a debate for tonight, I guess.
See, I see the word vault, and I think, not only money and public records, but fire protection. Things that you don't want to burn if, God forbid, the worst happens and the building catches on fire. You don't want your plans gone. You don't want your voting records gone. You don't want your street list gone and just various things like, not just money, but security.
Dinah,
Yes, Bob?
I'm thinking back to Plymouth now. When I go to Plymouth to look at a job over there, I go to Board of Health, and they pull up the plan on the computer. So they have all their documentation right in the computer. They can punch it right out. I can't, it can't be done in town too.
No, I think that's the plan of
Yeah, Tony,
that's what the planning department and the building department intends to do. I think all.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Board of Health does the same thing.
That's the direction,
Okay.
for sure.
All
And
right.
I think by the time this gets, keep in mind, this is going to get reprogrammed. So much time has changed. The way people are doing things is changing significantly at the moment, right? And so, we're trying to build the parameters of a plan to get a building size that's about right. And every department is going to be carefully gone through with each department head, in some cases, new department heads with different ideas about how things are done or will be done in the future. And that's a whole process in itself, right? To, everything has to be gone through again. What we want to ask is, do we feel like we've got enough space here overall, so that we can build an appropriate budget for the building that's going to get built. I mean, we're trying to show that it fits. We're trying to show that, a lot of general things. We're trying to create a general plan as well. Don't get me wrong, but every department is going to have to go, going to go over. Everything has to go through very carefully.
And when do the cost estimators begin their work, Mike?
On the Monday after the 4th, so I forgot.
Okay.
But yeah, and they're going to. They've been notified. I've actually sent them a lot of information already, so that they know what they have to do. And they'll have about 3 weeks to do that, which I think brings us to the 28th. If I'm correct. We should be in good shape. We need a little bit of time once we get the estimate to, go through it, some back and forth. Probably have a communication between the two estimators. I think that's in itself. We're going to have two estimates. How do they look? How do they compare? Is a factor. Of course, we're going to be presenting both estimates. I think that's what we've been requested to do.
Right.
But at some point, it's going to need to get reconciled, right? Because we're going to need to come up with a final number. That's the ask that you're going to go out to the public for. Right?
I think I have on the calendar, Mark's calendar, cost estimations are due to us on February 8th.
That's what we'll present. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we can go to the Board of Selectmen, hopefully February 11th.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see any issue with that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Those deadlines. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, we actually have the first rendering of Town Hall. That's actually, it's 90% done. The rendering for that we intend to show on the 4th is for the community center is 60% done, if not further. So we're well along.
Okay. Are there any other questions for this evening? I think we've accomplished everything. Bob?
No mail.
Pardon? I'm sorry?
No mail.
No mail? Okay, good. We always like no mail.
Got it.
Jim?
I assume we stopped short at the town hall. We're not going to discuss the senior center again at all?
I'm happy to. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, ask your questions. Go right ahead.
Beth had questions about 2 entrances and exits to her. I did watch the meeting that I didn't attend. So most of these are geared towards those questions.
Would you actually like to see the updated plan? Would that help? Anna could bring it up. I don't want to do that.
I'll just let me verbalize, and if you've taken care of it, you've taken care of it. If you haven't, I don't care. I'll try to be brief.
No,
but she wanted, and I was thinking to have an outside door to the conference room, which would come in, make a separate entrance. She's worried about privacy. They would go through the conference room to her office.
We've already made that change. Yep.
And or have the corridor that goes down the center, have a door to the corridor there. I don't know.
We've done that as well. Yep.
Okay. The water fountain, I was thinking of putting in the cafe someplace, I believe. But I think it's Bob, I keep forgetting his name. But he brought it up. I think it can be put as part of the cafe because there's a washroom or something on the other side of that wall. So his cost effectiveness of plumbing and everything is taken care of. And I was thinking between the wellness and the program room, is it feasible, or do we want to think about putting a soft wall in there, one of those accordion walls, so that that becomes a larger room if we should ever, for whatever reason, need a larger room, or is it need for stabilization of the building to have an actual solid wall there? And my other question was, with all the questions, and she's still there, Carol is still here, it was my information that the food pantry usually only does distribution and stuff on a Saturday. Is that correct? No, it does it all the time.
No, we're open the first and the third Mondays of the month.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And
And on our site layout, you're going to see significant changes from what we showed before, addressing trucking and all the things that have been
Yeah,
discussed.
okay. I'm done. See, I knew that would be easy.
It's
My Christmas present.
Yeah. Being nice, Jim.
can I ask one more quick question of
Of
Mike?
course you can, Gloria.
Glory.
One thing that was brought to my attention is we wanted to find out if there was going to be any kind of an overhang or like a covered area where people could wait outside the pantry without getting wet if it's inclement weather.
You know, I
Because
haven't drawn that, but I could easily do that. That makes a lot of sense. Mhm.
right, because we weren't sure if obviously access to that corridor would be through the pantry. So we just are thinking in terms of a waiting area outside where people would be protected.
Right now, that piece of building is like a gable end, and I could imagine just extending the gable end to the curb almost, something like that.
Okay.
It'd be like a porch essentially, and the
That would be
loading
great.
door could be under the porch, and the person entrance door could be under the porch. That would be very simple to do.
Okay,
I
wonderful.
would just keep in mind that it should be at least 12 feet high because it's also probably going to be where the trailer trucks back up to unload.
I'm not envisioning trailer trucks backing up to the building. I'm imagining that they're dropping the tailgate and bringing things down and hand trucking them in, or that they're not backing up to the door. It wouldn't make any sense because the truck bed is 4 feet up, and you know what I mean. It'd be really hard to have a true loading dock. So I'm assuming the truck is more or less located in front of the door, in perpendicular to the door, and you're unloading the truck a piece at a time and bringing things in.
And I was assuming it had a hydraulic tailgate that could put the load on the hydraulic tailgate and drop it down to ground level.
That's what happens now because he obviously cannot back up easily to the entrance to the pantry. So he does do it that method.
I mean, otherwise,
Okay, well, let's not design the building right now. Let's see the latest drawings. Anything else for the evening? Okay, our next meeting then is on January 4th, which is a Monday.
why was I thinking
Mark?
Tuesday? Did we say Tuesday? Do we go?
I thought we were trying to change to Tuesdays. Mark, do you?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, are we doing Mondays or Tuesdays for Jim?
It would be more convenient to do Tuesdays for Jim.
Yeah.
5th, does that work, Mike?
Yes. Yep. Mhm.
Okay, so then it would be Tuesday, I'm sorry, January 5th.
Mhm.
Anyway.
January 5th. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn. Jim Slattery.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, everybody, okay. Happy holidays, everybody, stay safe.
Happy holidays, everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. You too,
You all
Peter.
as well.
Work until to the end of the pandemic, we're gonna be patient, right?
Thank you, Dave. I mean, Mike.
Have a nice evening.
Here's everyone.
Yeah.
I'm on the game.